Edward Brown, host of The Best of Investing, here to remind you to tune in this week on Saturday at 8 p.m. Our guest is going to be Kim Flynn. You're not going to want to miss this show. That's The Best of Investing on Saturday at 8 p.m. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during the show. That certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. And today's trivia theme, since we just finished off the NBA season, we thought we'd throw a little NBA questions in there, all right? Now, today we do have a special guest who's been on once before, Sal Buscemi from Bremen Partners. I'm going to read a little bit about Sal here. Let's see here. First of all, the title of the show of this episode is going to be How the 0.001% Invest Today. That ought to be good. So currently serving as the CEO and co-founding partner of Bremen Partners, LLC, a private multifamily investment office. As the CEO for Dandrew Partners Capital Management, Mr. Buscemi has demonstrated a keen eye for successful investment strategies. He's also served as the managing partner for several other direct investment vehicles, spanning multiple asset classes in commercial real estate and credit, fine art, private credit facilities, special situations, and well-performing life sciences investments, among others. Early on in his career, Buscemi founded and operated 2 distressed real estate credit platforms, including a distressed whole loan fund backed by a $2 billion Park Avenue investment manager. And he has been a successful he has made successful principal investments in companies like Airbnb and Lyft. And as an author, he's penned several books on fund management and real estate private lending. His first book, Making the Yield, Hard Money Lending Uncovered, became one of the most expensive books on real estate investing on Amazon. We'll have to ask you about that, how much that cost. A frequent speaker and guest lecturer on real estate finance, Mr. Buscemi has written numerous articles on the topic of real estate and private equity finance in various publications, including Investors Business Daily, Business Insider, and Forbes. He's also made appearances on television shows like CBS New York, Good Morning La La Land, and Ticker News. Wow, Sal, welcome back to The Best of Investing.
Edward, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here again. Thank you for the encore assignment.
Okay. Well, first of all, I got to ask you, one of the most expensive real estate investing books on Amazon. How much was that?
It went as high as $1,800 a paperback copy, but you could still get the copy of Kindle for only $9.99. And the reason is, I don't know what happened, but the publisher didn't publish enough or something, but it just went straight up. And, that was the de facto handbook, and it still is, for making private loans against residential property. And that's really what fueled the whole boom, what you saw with the rehab boom that was happening on, all over TLC, that was fix and flip television. So, that sort of paved the way for all of that to happen, I'm proud to say. Or not, but,
Wow.
It affected people's lives, and that's pretty cool. So,
I mean,
it's pretty fun.
People keep bidding it up or something? I mean, just
people kept bidding it up, and then there was, in Canada you could get it for, I think, recently it went down to I think $399 Canadian, and then, I originally, what I wound up doing is probably I bought back the rights because I thought probably, this isn't a good way to get the messaging out. So now, the book is available still on Amazon, or you can get it from SalvatoreBuscemi.com. You just click on the books link.
That's crazy. I'm happy for you, but it seems kind of like what? How long that was that during COVID?
No, that was the third book I wrote, which I'm sending you a copy of, Investing Legacy: How the 0.001% Invest. That was written during and after COVID, but this one was written after the credit crisis, or the last great financial recession. So it was published in 2013. It's going on. I think it was 2014. This could be the 10th year anniversary of this, so I might have to put a second edition cover out there and see what that goes for, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you almost can retire. How many books did you sell at $1,800 or I mean, like I said, one of them won for 1,800, but
Yeah, I mean, I think a total of like 5 were sold, which was 5 more than I ever expected at that price. So,
oh my gosh,
um,
that's impressive. I like that. I'll tell you what, believe it or not, we're going to actually go to our first commercial break here. I'll
sure.
ask a trivia question. If you know the answer, don't say anything until we get back. I do want to make a mention here for Transcendence Theater. You got to check up their upcoming performances at bestnighthever.org. I've been to some of their performances. It's Broadway basically, but it's here in the Bay Area. So check them out. They're awesome. Bestnighthever.org. All right, here's our first trivia question on the NBA. What number did Scottie Pippen wear? We all know Michael Jordan was number 23, but what number did Scottie Pippen wear, his teammate? All right, call 888-912-1190. The first caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which, by the way, is worth over $100. Call 888-912-1190 to answer this NBA question. What number did Scottie Pippen wear? All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial because we are going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. Edward Brown here along with Sal Buscemi. Second trivia question. What was the original name of the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team?
I would not know, Edward.
You would know that one. Okay, a lot of people think it was the San Diego Clippers, named Clippers because you would see a lot of Clipper ships in the San Diego harbor. But they actually, in 1978, they had moved from New York. Buffalo Braves changed their name to the San Diego Clippers, and then they became the Los Angeles Clippers. So that one's hard. A lot of people don't know that one. Let's see here. Want to make a mention also for the Axiom Hotel in San Francisco, located in the heart of Union Square. The Axiom Hotel blends a sense of history with modern touches. That's kind of a nice little combination. Guests rave about the staff and how quiet the hotel is, especially when you're talking about in the heart of Union Square. So check them out. Axiom, AXIOM, hotels.com. All right, so Sal Buscemi is with us here in the Zoom studio, as they say. And let's see here. Do all families look at the same as they do on TV? Is all the money that's the same? And why don't they just invest in crypto or more speculative assets? Well, we already figured out why they don't want to do the speculative assets. But I guess they're going to be, I guess, some family offices that are interested in real estate, other ones in healthcare. Do they
Yeah,
sometimes?
I mean, it's different strokes for different folks, and it depends on where the wealth is created. If it's in life sciences, you can bet that it's going to be in life sciences. But every family has some sort of a allocation and exposure to commercial real estate. Some more than others because some don't understand it. They don't understand the asset class as much. We have the resources to be able to educate our families with that. However, it depends on where it comes from. If it's from technology, for example, where I am right now in Palo Alto, or AI, you can bet it's going to be going into other AI bets.
Gotcha. Is there a big demand for the AI right now? I mean, it seems
There's a
like that's what
huge
they do.
demand for AI right now, but it reminds me when I was a young buck at Goldman Sachs during the dot-com days. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of, it was a very fragmented industry, and a lot of them didn't make it, right? A lot of them, were, just went poof. Dog stock, I think it was Pets.com that used to sell, 40-pound bags of dog food for free shipping. I mean, that's not a sustainable business model.
No.
However, we saw what happens, and I think there's going to be AI, and I think there's going to be AI part 2 at some point. And it's just figuring out right now, who's going to be the ones who are going to win, that across the swim lane as time goes on.
Gotcha. And even with, I was going to say, even with a lot of companies moving out of California just because of the politics and taxes, is still Silicon Valley the mainstay?
It is, and I can say since moving to Miami about 19 months ago, I'm originally from New York. However, there's a palpable energy here. There's a drive to really, it's a competitive drive, one that is, it's very favorable on failure because there's been tremendous amount of failures with all of these guys. But it's very palpable to see it's almost like an arms race, who can come up with the best AI. bots,
Yeah.
AI, what, they were calling, all the nomenclature. I can't remember. I just spent an entire day here yesterday at Stanford going all of this, but, the agents, they call it, and how, we're going to never have to do anything again. Between that and Neuralink, the world's going to be very different. And I think, and I hold to my posture that because of this arms race that's happening with AI, and I'll be posting photos of this later on LinkedIn later in the week. I think that you're going to see billion-dollar companies within the next 4 years with just 4 employees.
Wow. So what happens with the office space in the Silicon Valley and the R&D space?
I think that's still there because you still have to have that culture of like working together, and that's something that isn't really going to wear off. That's different. These are younger kids. They're mostly younger professionals. They live close by. They have the means to live close by. Whereas if you're looking at it from the standpoint of like a New York City office space where there's a lot of administrative work, maybe a lot of front office work, it becomes different to justify the office. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the thing is with an R&D space, research and development, for those who are not familiar with it, you can't really do that from home. I mean, you
No, you
need
can't.
labs and all that kind of stuff to
Correct.
clean rooms, et cetera, et cetera. Gotcha.
Wet
Okay.
office.
Say that again.
Wet office.
Wet office? Is that what they call it? A wet office. Okay. Sounds pretty good here. Let's see here. We have tell you what, let's go to our next commercial break here. We have another trivia question here. This will be our last trivia question. So we're talking the NBA. What town in Indiana did Larry Bird come from? And if you used to watch the TV show Cheers, they made when Woody, the bartender, made a comment about it because he goes, I hate you. So that's kind of a hint. Call 888-912-1190. The first caller with correct answer wins that tanning certificate worth over $100 from Tan Bella Tanning Salon, which again has 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. And the weather is getting pretty good out here. You got to get your tan on. Get your Tan Bella tan on first, and then go get a real tan. So here's the trivia question to win that tanning certificate. What town in Indiana did Larry Bird come from? And I think he's also mentioned it on, like if you go back like 1978, before he got into the NBA, he was talking about where he was from. All right, that's our trivia question. Stay with us. Again, call 888-912-1190 to answer that trivia question. What town in Indiana did Larry Bird come from? All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Sal Buscemi. All right, here's a third trivia question on basketball. What town in Indiana did Larry Bird come from? Don't remember that one. Okay.
Know.
French Lick. And in fact, his name was the Hick from French Lick. Yep, French Lick, Indiana. Yeah, there was a funny Cheers episode where Woody kind of makes fun of that. Okay, so Sal, is going public the holy grail of exits? Why or why not?
That's a great question. It is not. There's too much regulation now. Starbucks, too much of regulation, too much liability for these officers to take a company public. Right now, you're seeing $100 million companies that are 90% of them are privately owned. There's no reason to go public if you have cash flow throwing off assets. And really, it's going to be something for a riper buy, maybe not appropriate fit for everyone, but being acquired by, a private equity firm that's looking to roll it up, for example. You hear all about these stories that are happening right now. So there's a lot of companies out there, but I think, depending on the political, tea leaves, the way they read, it's going to be very difficult for these companies to go public. And you have to remember, it's more expensive today, too, because of the reasons we talked about before, the regulatory, inflation, not just wage inflation, to pay the Porsche payments for your securities attorney, but it goes much deeper than that.
Wouldn't it be great if California could politically get aligned to where they, rather than pushing businesses out, being business unfriendly, to be business friendly? Can you imagine?
And I might have to move out here. I might have to leave Miami and come out here, which I wouldn't mind. There's a tremendous amount of intellectual capital out here. I mean, things get done here. There's a vibe out here. I love it. But it's almost like a push-pull scenario with the government agencies and taxing and the aggressiveness that they're known for.
So you actually live in Miami,
Yes.
but right now you're in Palo Alto?
Correct. I'm at an elite family office conference given by the founder of of LinkedIn, actually, to talk to prospective
Gotcha.
investors and families. So
My
we
son,
came out here.
my son just left working for them
Yeah,
to work
yeah,
for a startup, not a startup, but what do you call a
yeah.
company that's got 700 employees? That's not quite a startup, I don't anymore, is it?
And it's just like small and middle market, small
Yeah,
company. I mean, it's a small business. Um, it's amazing, and it's sort of like it's a different places have different cosmopolitan values and different cultures. Here, everybody works, everybody's on the grind, everybody's smart,
yeah.
everybody's driven out here, very
Huh.
smart. In Miami, it's a place where you don't have the same amount of intellectual capital. You're not seeing that become the burgeoning force behind AI, right? It's just still,
Personally, I
you
think
know,
it's the humidity. I
it's
mean,
what?
really, I think it's the humidity. It's like
It could be the humidity. Yeah, who
who
wants
wants
to
to
deal
work
with that
hard?
humidity?
That kinda, it's like Mexico.
No,
It gets so hot. That's why they have siestas during the day. It's just too hot to work in the
it's
middle of the night.
true, and I agree with you there. But I mean, Miami's always going to be more of a destination for overseas wealth to be domiciled.
Interesting. Okay. And so now, what do you do a lot with family offices? What is your role with them? Like to find
De facto,
investment?
I mean, it's a de facto CIO. I mean, it's never just finding investments for them. I mean, my partner and myself, we put our own capital into these deals, and they follow along, and that requires a tremendous amount of shepherding
Yeah.
and communication. Because not, some people have different industries. We know people that own, oh my gosh, like at least 100 yogurt franchises, but he doesn't know anything about commercial real estate. But he's heard bad things, so he wants to talk to someone who he can trust, who's been around this and has the experience and the track record. That's just an example of it. Just because somebody
Yeah.
has money doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing with it. It's just that they know how to make it. And the transition is, okay, how are they going to be able to park this and put it in a way where it's going to continue their legacy? Because at some age, you start thinking about life after death. You don't like to think about it, but you're starting to think, how do I want my tombstone to read? What is the epitaph going to say?
Yeah.
What is the byline in the newspaper is going to say about Edward Brown? And
Yeah.
it's
Well, I've
here.
already figured out what I want. I want the last words to be is, look, he's still breathing. Can't guarantee that though. It's so
No,
funny.
that
I
is
think I told this
that's
once
funny.
before on the show that because we mentioned about like death and all that. It's like they've asked people, I don't know how many people, 1,000 people, whatever. They say, what's your biggest fear in life? And death was second, and the first was public speaking, which
Yeah, I can't
means
believe that.
I know, isn't that crazy? Which you know what that means? That means the guy who's giving the eulogy wishes he was in the box rather than out of the box. Kind of crazy. All right.
That is insane.
Uh,
My God.
okay. So, what are some great characteristics of great founders and CEOs your family offices like to invest into?
It's a very simple answer to this question. They're looking for repeat offenders in the way of people that have had multiple exits, not multiple, there's serial entrepreneurs, serial founders, but the problem is, have they had serial exits? Are they rich? Right? How much success have they had already? And what is that going? And then at that point, what's the drive for them to get to the point again to get themselves dirty, start building another company up from scratch?
Yeah,
We like
that
to.
that's a very good point because in my previous life, I did a lot of hard money real estate loans,
Oh
and there
yeah.
were times when that was my main business was hard money real estate loans, and the interesting thing is sometimes we get borrowers who were fantastic at finding deals, and they'd even have like an architectural background or construction background. The problem was they were not good at managing them. So
No.
what ended up happening was, they would be like, the cartoon, squirrel. I mean, they would just suddenly their attention would get diverted elsewhere. Ooh, that's another good deal, and that's another good deal, and they're not paying
Yeah.
attention to what's going on.
No.
And yeah,
Yeah. No, you see that a lot, especially with residential hard money lending, which is what that book was about when I making the yield. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
What kind of rate, before we get to our last break, what kind of yield do your family offices like to see?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that. It's not as high as the middle class or someone who's looking to get rich. They're not looking, I mean, most people read risk like a wine list, right? Over to the right and then all the way down. And they see the high promise return,
Uh,
sort of like a wine list, and the higher the price, the more, specialty investment. But that's not seen as being smart. And a great proxy
yeah.
for this is the site. Um, Prosper.com. Prosper.com is peer-to-peer lending. And the NRs, the loans rated NR, like you can't rate them because they're too high,
Yeah. Mhm.
are all picked up first by investors who are looking for the highest yield. So they're looking for things, we like industrial real estate, data centers. They have like a 7-8% cap rate in this market. You
Yeah.
can probably get higher doing a class C to B conversion, but there's a lot of risk there, and you're going to
Yeah.
have tenants who are poorer than you are.
Tell you what, we got to cut to our break. Stay with us. The best of investing. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the best of investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Sal Buscemi. Okay, now, Sal, what books have you written that can help founders and CEOs?
The my third book is the one that's really, I think, taken off. It's gotten tremendous reviews on Amazon. It's called Investing Legacy: How the 0.001% Investor, the top 1,000th of the 1%. And
Okay.
it really is, if you're raising money as a founder, you really want to understand the language and what really motivates these people to take action to write the check. I think, just since the pandemic and living in Miami, and I think, where crypto is very, very um, knit into the society, it became very transactional, and people would come to you. Now you can't ask for a large check from a family office by sending a cold email, right? First of all,
Yeah.
nobody's going to read it. It's just not going to happen, and it happens to me all the time, and I can't respond to them. Some
Yeah.
of them might be good deals, but generally they're not, because we don't invest in first-time founders. So, we have a
Yeah.
different take on the world with that, and that, to me, I think if you were to read that book, that would really help you guys really understand the method and the methodology behind that.
Okay, so like for me, I know real estate, been doing it for many, many years. I used to have my Series 7 securities license, so I used to do financial consulting and all that. I don't trust the stock market. I think it's too
Nobody
manipulated.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody
thank
does.
you. Okay, good. Another good opinion on that. I mean,
Yeah.
especially since, stock prices are different than what the company actually, there's financial modeling, and then there's, looking at charts, the
And then
fundamentals
there's
versus.
looking at Reddit and Instagram, which everybody else does.
Exactly. Whereas with real estate, my quick little
No,
sense.
nobody's reading charts today anyway. And these people that are piling it into Nvidia, they're not looking at charts. And
Got
that's important because that's, those big tech. I mean, where we are right now, that accounts for like over 50% of the S&P, right? I mean, Nvidia. I mean, that's
Yeah.
people are not reading these. They are people looking to get rich quick. They're not buying and hold. They're going in and betting for like a 20-point increase, and they look rich until they lose it again.
No, see, and I'd rather get rich slowly, as they say. And the way I look at it too is everybody needs a place to live, right?
Mhm.
So real estate's not going anywhere. Now there'll be pockets and there'll be ups and downs, but it just seems like um, the thing I don't like about is if you lose money, if you lose like say 20% a year, you got to make 25% the next year just to break even. I don't
Yeah.
like that. I'd rather just like slowly get 8,
But
10%.
it's been so incorporated in the mainstream, um, that it's a common refrain. It's amazing if you were to look at immigrants who came here and made a tremendous amount of wealth. They're not
Yeah,
buying these stocks; they're buying real estate because they see it much differently. Whereas sort of like the old adage, like a couple drinks a day won't hurt you. That was a lie, right? I mean, it's the same thing too with investing in these stocks. It's that the bag holders or the common equity holders in a lot of these stocks, but that's all they know because there's a promise of liquidity. But that doesn't mean when the house is on fire, it's going to cost more for you to get out.
no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's the thing about liquidity, and even with mutual funds, they have to keep a certain amount of cash on hand for redemptions. So if there's a run on the bank on a mutual fund, what are they going to do?
They're going to sell off their stock
They're going to sell
portfolio.
the stocks. And what happens when you have such sales? Prices go down. So it's pretty. Maybe it's a little too simplistic, but that happens. So, Sal, thank you so much for being our guest today. And we're going to go. Here's our thoughts for the day. Right. This is the best part of the show. Is the thoughts for the day. All right. So Carrie Fisher said, "Instant gratification takes too long." I like that. And Will Ferrell said, before you marry a person, you should first make them use a computer with slow internet to see who they really are. That's true. That's a very good point by Will Ferrell. All right, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.